What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D, and I have this book right here, The Ancient Kingdoms of Peru. Heru. Alright. Ancient Kingdoms of Peru. Heru. I'm going to turn to page 20 first. I believe it's 20, 21. Yeah, it's 20. I'll show you right here. Get the light to come a little further in. Okay. Excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse. The Mochi Mountains. The beginning of the 1st century AD marked the outset of the Mochi era, with its grandiose buildings of mud brick. At the site of Cerro Blanco, situated to the south of the Rio Mochi, somewhat nearer to the sea than Cerro Origes, was erected the Pyramid of the Sun, the largest of the Mochi pyramids and one of the biggest monuments ever constructed in pre-Hispanic America. It covers more than 5 hectares at its base and rises to a height of 41 meters. During the 17th century, looters diverted waters from the Rio Mochi in the attempt to undercut the Pyramid of the Sun and thus facilitate the removal of its contents at every level. As a result, above 2/3 of the platform was destroyed and the western side was washed away. Written evidence survives of the impressive loot extracted at that time. From the great gap in the structures created by this flooding, it can be seen that the construction probably began as phase 1 of the Mochi style and continued until the end of phase 4. At a distance of above 500 meters to the south of the Pyramid of the Sun is a monument known as the Pyramid of the Moon. It differs from the Pyramid of the Sun, since it is really a complex of 3 platforms, formerly enclosed by high adobe walls. The smallest of these platforms were built at the outset of the Mochi era, whereas the largest was not erected until the Mochi 3rd stage. Unlike the Pyramid of the Sun, the walls of the Pyramid of the Moon were adorned with impressive murals. These 2 monuments form part of a large urban complex filled with fine adobe residences for the ruling class, together with grand courts with niched walls and many workshops for skilled artisans. Little of this complex survived after much of the city was stricken by great floods in about AD 600. The destruction was so devastating that the exact nature of such buildings is not easily determined, through houses depicted under mochi pots to provide certain clues. Okay, get closer. Okay, 2 types of construction are illustrated on this mochi pottery. The more impressive adobe structures are shown as being built on a platform or pyramid. These appear to be either the houses of important people or possibly religious buildings. In some cases, what appear to be groups of mourners or worshippers are shown in front of them. Others painted pots depict a more modest type of dwelling of a kind that commonly be seen today in nearby countryside. Such houses are illustrated as open-walled, possibly an artistic convention to enable the viewer to see the person or scene depicted inside the house. Previous to much more recent discovery of the Sapan tombs yielding dramatic evidence of Mochi burial practices, excavations of Mochi sites have produced massive quantities of fine painted pots, but no burials remotely comparable to those of Sapan. Only one grave, the first Mochi phase, was found at the base of the Pyramid of the Sun. A few burials of the Mochi II were excavated at the foot of the western side of the Pyramids of the Moon. The typical sprout bottles of this phase differed only in detail from those of phase 1. Further variations occur in phase 3, when the spout is wide and short, as in the two previous phases, but the upper part has a pronounced flare. In phase 4, whose stirrup spout samples are by far the most numerous, the sprout becomes taller than in previous phases. In all, prior to the latest discoveries, more than 350 mochi burials have been scientifically excavated. As these, many were found at a major settlement that also contained impressive mochi-style pyramids. In the simpler burials, the body was merely wrapped in a plain cotton shroud and placed face upward in the shadow pit. In the more elaborate finds, the body was either wrapped in many shrouds and twin cane matted, or placed in a box-like cane coffin, whilst no manifestly royal tomb had thus far been found, since those from the major sites had been so completely looted long ago. The available burials were suggestive of highly stratified society. As we have seen, Mochi civilization was known to have spread far beyond the original Rio Mochi Valley sites and other valleys from the Rio Parua to the north of the Rio Nefira, Nepina Valley at some distance to the south of Mochi, containing at least one or two major monuments which, smaller in size, presented similar features to those of the Rio Mochi Valley itself, which continued to flourish until about 600 AD 600, both as an urban complex and as an important center of government. All right, I'm going to skip on to page 27. I'm going to explain, I'm going to skip on to page 27. All right. Oh, damn, I'm having hard, like these pages are sticking. All right, read right here. Excuse me. Some painted pots show human figures running through a landscape, apparently carrying bags containing beans. Like the pots representing warriors, those representing runners sometimes show humans, and in other anthropomorphic animals of all kinds act as runners. In two cases, animal-headed runners are shown as approaching a pyramid or temple. In one of these, the deity sits on the top of the temple, as if the runner seems to be his messenger or servant. Alright. Various aspects of the mochi economy are shown on pots. Many depict rafts. Alright. Often a deity is shown in the boat. But even if such scenes are partly mythological, such rafts were surely used by men who actually went to sea. Now I repeat, various aspects of the mochi economy are also shown on pots. Many depict rafts. Often a deity is shown in the boat. But even if such scenes are partly mythological, such rafts were surely used by men who actually went to sea. Shellfish are abundantly represented under pottery. Numerous food plants cultivated by the Mochica are also illustrated, including maize, lima beans, peanuts, sweet potato, peppers, as well as various forms of squash. Sounds like a normal black dinner, doesn't it? The importance of maize is indicated by the representations, many of which show the head of a fanged deity emerging from the ears of maize. Lima beans also play a special role. They are the only vegetable that is truly anthropomorphic. With heads and arms and legs, lima beans are shown as warriors and messengers in both painted and model versions. Alright, and I'm going to really stop there, because the other part I was going to read, but I'm not going to read because it talks about some sexual stuff. But this is the book, The Ancient Kingdoms of Peru. Remember I told you, Peru is really Heru, Osiris and Isis' brother, elder brother, not the son, Heru, the son, which is Horus, the son. Now, I'm going to get to this point, what I just read to you. The Mochi. Okay, the Mochi were basically, the Mochi are just really black Peruvians. Alright? But people keep saying, oh, those are the African slaves, and people came at, those black Peruvians are the descendants of the Mochi, man. That's what the hell they are. Alright. The Mochi black people, you can say they're the pre-Incas. The Mochi, if you listen to what I just said, the Mochi, I tell you before, this information is right in your face. It's really hilariously in your face. The Mochi, Geechee, the Mochi, Geechee, Malinche, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kankakee, Tallahassee. Oh man, this stuff is so in your damn face. It's hilarious. It really is hilarious. Then they talk about the food, the maize, the squash, the sweet potatoes. You find that at every black dinner, particularly at Thanksgiving, man. I want black food. And sweet potato pie, that's like a black classic dessert during so-called Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that, and New Year's. That's a so-called black dessert and lima beans. Why do you Negroes continue to push this African slave myth? Okay, let me say something. I'm not saying slavery didn't exist. But what I'm saying is that majority of people are already here. They had the empires here. But these white folks have put these boule Negroes out here to deflect the truth. It is lazy research from people like Jabari, this Ghanaian Negro, I forgot his name. I forgot this Negro's name. Garfield, the whole Amara squad. They're very lazy in research. Because when you read this, the Mochi, Geechee, Malinche, Saniki, Malinki, these damn names sound so damn similar. This is in your damn face, man. Like Peru, Heru, Peru, Heru. This stuff is in your damn face. There's no excuse not knowing this. But yet you still have people on YouTube teaching at universities saying that we come from descendants of slaves of Africans. That is a lie. I know some of you do not want to hear this. I always say this. You may not want to hear this, but you're going to hear it. You had black empires, so-called black empires globally. And here in America, they were very ancient, man. They've been so ancient that it has been buried. The truth has been really buried. And a lot of the great monuments and architecture either been destroyed or has been crumbling down as rubble because it has not been kept up, like I said in previous videos. I showed you pictures of the Mochi, in other videos. Those are some straight up Negroes, man. In fact, one of them looked like Brother Jay from X-Clan. I'm telling you, this stuff is literally in your face. It's literally in your face. And it's lazy research of people like SETI who keep telling you that you're African. It's lazy research, like I said, from people like Jabari who keep telling that you're an African. Or Dr. Ma'at who keep telling that you're an African. That's lazy research because you had your great black empires, melanated empires here in America. This is so obvious, man. What I just read, what I just broke down, the Mochi, Malinche, Gullah-Geechee, Kankakee, Tallahassee, Tennessee, Mississippi. God damn, this is in your face. It's literally right in your face. And in some instances, like I said in previous videos, they just took one letter and just changed it with another letter. This is in your damn face. It's so obvious. But many of you just want to be slaves. Because like I said, you want that pat in the head and the acceptance with white folks. That's what you boule want. I can't stand you. Because you're sellouts. You sold our people out. You have our people buy into this mess that we all are African and by some African diaspora. There's no damn African diaspora. We all not African. We all have our own culture. I read in there talking about how they use boats. They put on their different paintings, images of boats. They sell them to the sea. And some of them were mythological, but with a lot of myth, there's truth. So they use those boats to sell at sea, deep sea, or different types of boats for different types of sailing. So they had boats and ships here in ancient America where they sailed within the terrain of the Americas and out into the deep sea. I emphasize this all the time. Like I said, don't listen to these Negroes who telling you you're a descendant of African slaves. Don't listen to these Negroes who telling you that you're an African. Have you denied your Aboriginal heritage? Don't listen to any of these Negroes. They don't know what the hell they talking about, man. And I'm telling you this. We have a history that is basically locked behind a door, but we need to unlock that door to get to our remaining full history, because it's been denied to us and has been seriously suppressed. And these Negroes are very lazy, and they doing something is very neglectful and not truly learning this stuff and then teaching it. Instead, you're teaching them that they're slaves from Africa. You're teaching them that they didn't have the intellectual fortitude or the knowledge to create maps, that they need white folks to capture them and bring them on a ship in order for them to be here. That is sick, man. But it shows you how self-hate that Pan-Africans have. The self-hate they have, man. Those are disgusting Negroes that I can't stand. But this is self-hate that they have. That's sickening, because they're going to continue to push that same tired narrative that they want to talk about what Dr. John Henry Clark said, and they were wrong. Some of them actually care. I think Van Sermer was getting there. He wasn't fully there. He was getting there. I told you before how I felt about Dr. John Henry Clark. I really didn't care for him. Alright? But the point is that some of them, I think, they just didn't have the technology, or they just didn't know. But then some brothers knew, but they was considered fringe and out there. But the information's there. There's no excuse for you Negroes not to study this. And it was, you know, most of my subscribers know where they seek the truth. But you got a lot of these Negroes, man, who continue to push that lie on YouTube. Continue to push that lie in the schools, like I said. Stop doing that. Your history is right in front of your face. Those black Peruvians are not no damn descendants of no African slaves. They're descendants of the black Mochica, or the Moshi. You had some slaves that came over, and each country had it broken down to a certain number. It's impossible for all the millions of black people to hear that majority of them came from a West African slave ship. That is insulting, man. And many of you African women who get on here and try to say we hate ourselves and try to define our history, I think you really need to be quiet, like I said in the videos. You're showing your true colors when you're trying to speak on the history and try to speak on our history when you don't know nothing about us or our history or our culture. You think you know by taking some African American studies at an Ivy League university, like I said before, stolen from black Indians, used Aboriginal blacks as slaves to build them damn schools. Think you got that degree from them schools, and then you think you know our history when you don't know nothing. Because I hear a bunch of them on there talking about, quote, who we are, and we need to stop saying that we're Indian. Shut up. Really. Shut up. Because you're being disrespectful. I just read from the ancient kingdoms of Peru. The ancient kingdoms of Heru. Alright? Peace and love, brothers and sisters.